There we go.
Hello there, and welcome to Spirit Said. This is episode 2 in our topic of the month, which is bullying. A topic which I know a lot of you, it's quite close to our hearts. Most of us have experienced it in some way or another. And this particular session is just to give some support to some people that maybe are struggling with bullies at the moment, or even are trying to help people that are suffering, just to give some advice and some help, if we can, because we do feel bullying is on the rise at the moment, in all walks of life, domestic abuse, workplace bullying, COVID situation bullying, all sorts of stuff going on at the moment. And what we're all about here is everyone should have their own opinion and not press it on anyone else. So, we're quite opinionated here, so just take what you want and leave what you don't. And I am joined today by the lovely Jenni. She's from our Dear Jenni problem page. She has a multitude of experience. She used to work as a primary school teacher, and she's now retired. But she did undergo quite a lot of training in bullying, that kind of thing, to try to suppress all those sort of behaviours. But mainly, obviously, a lot of experience in the field of actually being on the ground with the kids. But I know we all know it's not just the kids, is it? And so bringing that on here, we've also got Natalie Hills, who is a specialist. She's a holistic empowerment coach. This means that she kind of brings everyone on, brings up their motivation, works up on their self-esteem, that kind of thing. And she specialises in inner child healing. And what seemed to have come out of episode 1 was that a lot of this bullying comes from what happened to people when they were children. So without further ado, I'm just going to go to Jenni first of all and say hi. Is there anything you wanted to say first of all?
When we had the training in the school that I was working at, the people came from Kidscape, which is a charity which you can look up on the internet. And they said, I know what everyone is going to say. They're going to say there is no bullying in this school. And I can tell you there is. And that it's often under the surface and people don't realise it's going on. So actually dealing with it is quite difficult. It's very important that if children are being bullied, that it's reported in some way, if possible, to the school. And they should have something called an anti-bullying policy, which you can ask, if you're a parent, you can ask for a copy of. It's important that the bully, as well as the child who is being bullied, or the children who are being bullied, are treated fairly. And it's usually important that they're both spoken to. Sometimes people will put the two together and ask them to talk about what happened and why they think it happened. Obviously, the bully probably has, as Natalie will probably say later, probably has some sort of trauma in their life, which makes them feel big when they bully someone. They maybe get a kick out of it.
I muted myself just in case I'm coughing because I've got really bad hay fever. Yeah, so really interested in the whole school bullying situation, because I was bullied really badly at school. And actually something that I used to think to myself when social media started to become more of a thing is when I was in school. We only just started having mobile phones when I was about 14, I think, when I had my first mobile phones. That's when it just started. They were like massive bricks. Like that was the first time when we started to actually have them, and you could text on them, and it was really cool. And I used to get bullied quite heavily at school. And so when I used to come home from school, that was my time where I was safe. I didn't have anybody online saying anything to me. The worst it was is that people would ring up my house phone and then bully me over my house phone. But that maybe happened, I think, about 4 times that would have happened throughout my school life. So you always knew that when you came out of school, it didn't matter. I didn't spend a lot of time in school for the last few years because of that. So I used to bunk off of school a lot because I didn't didn't want to have to deal with all of that stuff. And I stood up for myself once. I remember doing that as well, because it all just got a bit too much. I think my question in this example being that I was very heavily on the receiving end of it, and knowing what the way in which the school dealt with it, and I have seen schools deal with it, was not effective. And the reason why it's not effective is because there is no real resolve. So if you're putting, so I'm heavily bullied, I'm heavily bullied, and it's maybe one person that's heavily bullying me, and you take me into a room and we speak to me and I say how I feel, and then we go and take the other person into a room, and then they're probably not really going to say how they feel, because they actually feel personally attacked, because they know that they've done something wrong and they shouldn't have done something wrong. There's obviously some deeper meaning there. I think the most that I ever got offered at school was counselling from the school counsellor, and then the person that's been victimised then feels even more of a victim, or maybe plays into that role of a victim, because that the only way that the school could support them was by giving them some form of therapy. Then maybe the person that's bullying, maybe they get things like suspended or expelled from school and stuff like that. For me personally, I don't feel that is a really effective way of treating. I mean, I'm 35 now, so I don't know how much things have changed in school. But I personally think like teaching children things like mindfulness, and teaching children how they can actually empower themselves, and that school should be a place where they can feel safe, and shouldn't be a place where they feel the need to be cruel to one another, or these are all learned behaviours that they're bringing on from being at home. But I do feel like there's not much that schools can actually do, and there's probably a lot more that could be spoken about and could be dealt with in that side of things. But I don't know I know you was in primary school, so it might not have been, this is in senior school, so it might not have been as heavy, and I would hope it's not as heavy in primary school. I don't know, I took my child out of school, we home ed, so I won't have to deal with anything like that, thankfully. But I don't know what your personal experience has been, or what has shown you, like what worked. I think if we're using this as a platform to show people how they can best encourage their children and how they can best help them through it, what do you feel was the most effective ways to actually help children, where both of them got a resolve, where both of them come away feeling good, and not one of them was a perpetrator and not one of them was a victim, because everyone should be treated equally. And I think that's where things probably I haven't seen things work out in schools.
I think that's quite interesting about everyone being treated equally, because it's our nature. We see someone doing something horrible, it could be to an animal or to a child that doesn't deserve that, and our nature as humans generally is to protect the vulnerable, probably by ostracizing the one that's obviously in that respect closing rank, making them outsiders, probably making them even worse. Yeah, I probably would still hit the person with a spade that's hitting an animal. Yes, sorry about that, but that's me. But maybe I could be mindful after they've got a spade in their head, There's a lot of anger issues here coming out. I mean, it's not good. Triggers, this is something else we were talking about. But yeah, bullying across the board, it's trying to be mindful with the person, why they're doing that. But that's really hard when you're in that, if you're on a side already, because as mindful as we are, our instinct is to pick up a spade. And I don't mean that, obviously anyone watching, I'm not saying don't hit bullies.
Do not murder anyone with a spade.
Do not murder anyone.
Yes,
we are love and light. I am joking. Okay, but you understand where I'm coming from. Just trying to show you an example of, for me, if I were to see someone bullying an animal like that would be my instinct, and that is a lot of people's instincts. That's why people close rank, and then that's probably why those people get worse and worse and worse, because they get attention. And you know, they're craving attention, maybe we need to look at the attention side of things. I think we were having a discussion just before we all came on, and I was saying about how distraction techniques seem to work better. So maybe if you're just about to be bullied and they say something really horrible, to then maybe like change the subject and bring in something positive about them or about something they've done. It could just change and flick that switch. I mean, often it doesn't, you know, it depends how deep-seated that bully is, doesn't it, really? And I think really most of the problems come in where, you know, it is deep-seated bullying, the people that are going to be watching this, that they're trying to deal with, which is you know, it's difficult. But with the light bullying, you know, in the workplace, or I don't like what you've done there, oh, that's a shame, but I really like what you did there, can you show me how you did that? These kind of techniques, I think, but they come from confidence, I would say, which is hard to get. And I feel that if you are struggling with it, and even if you are strong enough to divert the attention, or even to pull the bully up on saying, look, why did you say that? That's really wrong. I don't agree with you. You're just being rude. How strong are you after not to deal with feeling sad and in going over and over and over that in your head, probably about 50 times? Did I say the right thing? Was I being mean? I don't know. Was I being funny then by reporting or retaliating or distracting? And, you know, a lot of our viewers here are empaths. So this is even more confusing for empathic bullies or bullies, people that are being bullied, because it's like you're feeling the inner child wounds from the bully and you don't want to hurt them, but you're feeling hurt yourself. Then you're thinking, have I done the right thing? And you're thinking, oh, it's a bit of a nightmare, I think, for a lot of us people. But again, with a deep-seated value, like I've been as a protector, I feel that's my role, even here as the editor, as Spirit said, as a protector of my collective, that I am a protector. That's what I do. So no, if a bully is going to try and do something to one of my guests or one of my people, they're going to go against me, and I wouldn't like to go against me. That's it. So yeah, I'm going to shut up now. Let's come to whoever wants to go next.
Just really interesting. You just reminded me actually of when my daughter was going to preschool. There was a little boy there that was she used to keep coming home with bite marks on her, and at the first time, like, didn't kind of think too much of it, and then the next time it happened, it also happened to one of my friend's little girls in there. So then you start to kind of get, and I've never been, and well, at the time I had never been somebody that really would not question things, but would probably have those confrontations, because that's trauma, right? That was a trauma. I was a people pleaser, and I'm not anymore, but that's what I was. And I remember saying to the people that owned it, what's going on? Like, she won't tell me what it is, and you know, she's been bitten, or they'd say you had to sign the accident book because something had happened or whatever, but they would obviously never tell you like who the child was, and it was just kind of like, we're dealing with it. But then so many of the people that actually worked there also kept leaving, and I think a huge part of it was to do with this particular child. Now, in the end, that child got taken out of that preschool, but obviously in between then, my daughter was affected by it, other people's children were affected by it, and as parents, we weren't kept in the know, because obviously what they were trying to do was protect those parents as well and that child. But you can't help but feel that mother bear instinct kicks in, and you're kind of like, what's being done about this? Is it safe to send my child to that preschool? Is it safe to send my child to that school? And as you say, like, being an empath as well, you know, I became best friends with one of my bullies in school. She used to bully me the most. I became best friends with her because when I saw her getting bullied, because I never reacted, when I saw her getting bullied, I took her under my wing. But what happened as a result of that? She became my best friend for the best part of 13, 14 years, and bullied me that entire time. But we were friends, that she could get away with it, that she was bullying me. It's only now that we're not friends, and if she tries to come into my space, got a boundary there. You know, I wouldn't be unpolite to her if I saw her, but we're not friends. And I wouldn't want to be friends with that. But that's what you do as a real empathic person. You take on other people's stuff. So it's really learning like how, again, it's how to empower yourself. Because you're an empath doesn't make you a victim. And that's really important to know. You're not a victim as an empath. It's a superpower. You're super, super, super compassionate, and you can use that to literally change somebody else's frequency, or change yours so much that the people that are hurting you will fall away.
That's amazing.
Like,
Jenni, can we come to you, my lovely?
I don't really have anything to say just at the moment. I'm just trying to think.
Okay. No
Okay.
worries. Just raise your hand when you do. Okay. Unfortunately, people like me and Natalie, we just don't shut up on subjects. We got to be mindful of the time. But like Natalie and I could go at it for hours, I'm pretty sure. Although we have completely different beliefs, we're all the same beliefs as well. So we're going to address the elephant in the room, which is COVID at the moment. And we're going to do this in what I'm calling a safe space here. So everyone here is safe with what they believe, what they think. Everybody is entitled. I think this is the key. Everyone is entitled to their own view. And, you know, this magazine is about supporting everybody, whether you believe in the vaccine or you don't. Whatever you believe, you know. I think as a whole, as a nation, we all know something is not right. Okay, some of us knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I forecast it all. I put it all, you know, toilet rolls, a whole lot, all down, and everyone laughed at me. And they said, "Oh," I said, "What are you going to do when we can't pay our mortgages?" And they said, "Oh, we'll book a Tesco's delivery slot." And I said, "Oh, good luck with that. It'll be like the next apocalypse." So then. But do you know what happened? Again, in some respects, that was bullying. Because then they were like, well, we don't, in a nice way, you can think what you think. But, you know, after that, I thought, I don't want to get downloads now. I don't want to know what's going to happen. I want to help people on the ground, because all I was doing was getting angry. In fact, I actually wrote an article. It was called Bat Phone to Boris. It was like, hello. Where are your seers? Where are your people that know, like me? Hello, did you not get my memo that this is going to go really badly? You need to lock down the airports, and then we can provide everything to the whole world and we'll be rich. Yeah? No, of course not. So it's no point in getting angry. It doesn't help. So I just said, you know what? Just shut that down. I want to be on the ground. I can't help people that I can't help. So put me in a position where I can be on the ground and help people and not get angry about things I can't change. And I think actually that's quite an important thing about bullying, getting angry about things you can't change. I think there's that serenity prayer that always comes up in the cards. I'll find it. I think it's like, God grant me the, Jenni, help me out. It's about changing the things you can change and not worrying about the things you can't change, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think that's quite important as well. I've just completely lost my thread now. What was I saying? I've got spirit coming in now because I picked up the cards. That's why I've lost what I'm saying. Basically, yeah, so we were going down the line talking about COVID, you know, it is the elephant in the room. And what I want to discuss about it is, I just want to say, look, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Just because you're spiritual doesn't mean you can't have the vaccine. You don't have to have the vaccine because you're spiritual. It doesn't make any odds, and no one should be pushing you to do anything you don't want to do. And the way this collective works is we don't pressure anybody to do anything they don't want to do, and everybody's respected, and their reasons, they shouldn't even have to justify their reasons. But you know, I know a lot of us empaths feel like we do have to justify ourselves. But, you know, there's a lot of camps and we're all in the same camp. But I just wanted to come to Natalie to talk to her about, you know, like, and Jenni, about how to cope with, you know, there's a lot of people at the moment maybe having second thoughts about having the vaccine. you know, and they can't they don't want to have it, or they're being forced to by work. There's a lot of pressure on people, even in families, because maybe one family member's ill, and so maybe one sister wants to do it and one doesn't, so then the sister that's had the vaccine is going to do all the work. There's a lot of inter-family pressures, and even I would say boyfriend girlfriend pressures. If you want to come to my house, you have to have it. And this whole COVID situation has kicked bullying to another level, and especially I do think light workers have been affected by this as well, because there's two sides of that. Some of them ridiculing, saying, well, you believe in this and we don't, and there's a lot of ridicule at the moment, isn't there? I think. What do you guys think?
It's just division, and ultimately, listen, we have to get to a unity consciousness, and the only way that we can do that is by being unified and respecting everybody. What I find really fascinating is that we've seen this absolute explosion of BLM, we've seen trans, we've seen all of these things that are coming to light, and it's all division, every single thing. And you will see people saying, like, this is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay. And then you've got people saying, I don't want to be friends with you if you've had the vaccine. I don't want to be friends with you if you haven't had the vaccine. It's exactly the same. You're basically telling somebody, I don't like you because you're black. I don't like you because you're white. It's exactly the same thing, right? I don't care what people choose to do with their body. All I care is that people exercise their own free will. And this is something that I've said to so many people as well. Like, all I want you to do, if you are somebody that is, if you're somebody that feels like you're being pressured by work, I just actually want you to know that it's completely illegal. So you can, there are loads of documents out there, loads of letters that you can actually use, have already been pre-written, that you can give to your employers. Nobody can actually force that on you. So if somebody is threatening your job as a result of that, it's totally illegal, and you would win that if you appealed it. So there are plenty of places that you can go to, plenty of websites you can go to, Power to the People. There is a group of lawyers that have come together that call themselves Lawyers of Light. You can find them on Telegram. So if that is you and that's upsetting you, then please know that there are people out there that can help you, and you can seek those people. But from a perspective of if you're kind of sitting there and you're like, I don't know if I want to have it, or I don't know if I do want to have it, all you need to ask yourself, this is such an important question, what do I think? If I don't look at any of the newspapers, if I don't look at any of the news, if I don't listen to what anybody else is saying, what is my personal experience over the last 12 months? What's my personal experience? So that means, have I lost somebody immediately to me? Do I think that it could have been prevented? Have I been sick? What is my personal experience? People are not listening to their intuition. Okay, it's your superpower. So it doesn't matter if your personal. I've got a friend of mine, she lost both her dad and her granddad to it. You know, she wanted to go and get both her jabs. She's younger than me. I'm 35. She's in her early 20s. So I totally respect that, because that's her personal experience. Me personally, I haven't had that experience. So I just want you to really tap into, you don't need to do what anyone is telling you to do. You don't need to do what someone's telling you not to do it, or anyone to do it. Ask, what has your personal experience been? And the more that we can respect ourselves, and the more that we can respect other people's decisions, the sooner we're going to reach unity consciousness, which is a place where everyone just exists doing what they want without harming anybody else. And that's the dream, isn't it? That everyone just lives within, like, the world together. There is no black, there is no white, there is nothing like that. And if you can't see a world like that, then that's sad. That's sad for you if you can't see that, because that's what we're all here to do. We're all here to raise the vibration and unify, and you don't have to explain yourself. So yeah, that's my perspective on it anyway.
Thank you. Fabulous. Yeah, so we've got to bring everyone into unity, guys. So good luck to us all, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Maybe in, like, I don't know if in our lifetimes, let's hope so. Let's hope so. Sometimes it takes something to shake the tree like this to cause that kind of thing. So maybe, like, if we've got a lot of positivity, Natalie, you need to coach us all, because, you know, a lot of us are thinking, are you serious? Do you know what we're dealing with out there? Like, hello, you could knock them against the wall, they wouldn't get it, you know. They come to Jenni.
So if we go back to the kind of bullying thing, if that's okay, I just wanted to say something about, if it really is heavy duty bullying at your workplace, you probably need to speak to HR or to a superior. But sadly, you probably need evidence. So you probably need to, if there are serious incidents, record them so that you can actually talk about them. And you can talk to people off the record, which means there is a record, but it's not going to be acted upon, and it can be taken away. I mean, I am talking about really sort of serious bullying in the workplace, which I have experienced, and it was eventually dealt with. It's yeah.
Amazing. So I'll come back to you, Natalie. Is there anything else you'd like to add about this? I think we've covered quite a lot in quite a short space of time. Actually, we've done quite a lot. I think. Do you think it's because we talk fast, Natalie?
Yeah, maybe. You'll have to watch it a few times over and over to get all the gold from it. But
yeah,
I just think if you're looking at solutions, look, listen, you are born worthy. You are so worthy and deserving of the absolute best in life. There is no one that is above you. There is no one that is beneath you. And if you find yourself, the thing with triggers, and ultimately that's what happens, if someone is mean to us, we are going to get triggered. Or if somebody does something that we don't like, we are going to get triggered. And what we need to always bear in mind is that it's only ever a mirror that's in front of us. Everything is a mirror reflection. It is something that is within us that needs to come up for healing. And everything, you all have trauma. Every single person watching this, we all have trauma. If we didn't have trauma, we'd already be at unity consciousness. Okay, we all have trauma. We're all, it's a phrase that I kind of came up with, and I really stand by this, is we are all wounded children trying to raise wounded children. We've got so much ancestral trauma. We have carried on all of this stuff, and it is just stuff from generations and generations and generations before us. Everything that we do is a trauma response. It's a coping mechanism. We are trying to keep ourselves safe. That's all it is. If you can, every time someone triggers you, in that moment, whether it makes you angry or sad or whatever that vibe is that you're on, if in that moment you can just take yourself back and ask, when is the first time that I can remember experiencing this feeling? You allow yourself to go there. Where is the first time I ever experienced this feeling? You will bring up a memory, and that memory will unlock so much for you to unpack, because you'll start to recognize, oh, okay, so as an example, when I was younger, the first memory that I actually have, my very first memory, I was about 2 or 3 years old, was my dad throwing my mum up against a radiator and hitting her and kicking us out of our house and things like that. So I carried that with me for a really, really, really long time. And that manifested in so many things. It manifested in me being more in my masculine. It manifested in me always trying to prove myself. There were so many things that came off the back of that, you know, daddy issues, like all of these things that happened as a result of that. But if I take myself back to that moment, what I would have frozen as a child. I can remember, I can see it now visually. And I remember telling my mum when I was about maybe 6 or 7, thinking it was a dream, and her saying to me, I'll never forget it. Do you remember that? And it was like, even saying it now, I can feel it in the pit of my stomach. That feeling that I felt of like, oh my God, that happened. That isn't a figment of my imagination. And in that moment, I would have froze. And in that moment, I would have done something to keep me safe. So if you can ask yourself every time you feel that a trigger, when's the first time I can remember feeling like this? Oh, okay. It was when my mum said this to me. Oh, okay. So, you know, what did I do in that moment to keep myself from feeling safe? Or maybe you cried, or maybe you told your mum you hated her, or whatever it was that you did in that moment. Then you want to pull on your experiences from the now. So knowing what I know now as an adult, how can I provide myself the level of safety that I gave myself then in a healthier way?
Would you have bought a spade?
Huh?
Would you have bought a spade?
Would I have bought a spade? No, I did used to hit a lot though. I used to hit a lot, because that's what I got slapped. That's what you used to get when we were younger. You used to get slapped, but I wouldn't ever take a slap, so I'd slap back. That was my way of keeping myself safe. It's kind of like, you're doing it to me, so I'm doing it to you. It made me feel strong because I felt weak. So how could I provide myself with that level of strength now in a healthy way? And if you want some complete total free therapy that is like blowing up at the moment on TikTok, I did a video called 7 Levels Deep, and you can find it on my TikTok. It's Quantum Natalie. I think at the moment it's on about 327,000 views. So many people have got, so many people are getting so much from it. And it's a 7 Levels Deep exercise. I'll let you go through it. And there's another one.
You can post it.
Yeah, you can
send me the link, and I'll put a link on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good way of you kind of getting to the root cause of an emotion and unlocking it. And then I've got another video on how to then rewrite a limiting belief. If you could just always remember that it all comes from within. Everything we're experiencing on the external is always a representation of how we feel about ourselves on the inside. And it is hard work. But if we don't deal with that trauma, what's going to keep happening is we're going to keep seeing it repeating over and over and over and over and over again. That's why people always get in the same bad relationships all the time, or the same bad work all the time, because you're not healing that initial trauma. And when you do, it's like, it's next level, because you just start attracting better for you, because you believe in better for yourself. So I hope that helps if you are feeling like that. And yeah, I will give you the link to those videos, because they're like, I'm amazed at how many people are saying how helpful it is. And I wasn't even doing it on purpose. I was only answering someone's question. Oh, this will help this person, and it's like, they're blown up.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Natalie. We love that. Amazing. You want to say before we close down this evening?
I mean, I think probably in our lifetimes we've all experienced bullying to some extent. I certainly have. I was actually bullied as a child. I went to an all-girls school. I was adopted, and I was bullied by some girls who thought it was funny that I had parents who were a lot older than their parents. So I mean, the kind of things that go, the weird thing about it is that I can't actually remember that particularly, but I can remember once being in a playground and them tying me to a tree with skipping ropes at playtime, and everybody went in.
Oh.
So I mean, there are sort of things that have influenced my life. So
again, that is our coping mechanism, which I'm sure Natalie is probably going to come on from here, about blocking out. A lot of times when I have maybe stood up for myself, or sometimes I can't remember what actually happened to me in the first place. And I think a lot of that is your coping mechanism, especially if you're an empath. you kind of block it out. So maybe you don't remember what, you know, if someone's asking you, well, what happened? If you find yourself in that position where you're like, actually, I don't know what happened. Well, I know I was with them, and then something happened, and then I said this and I did this and I stood up for myself because that's what I would do. And then I'm like, well, why did I do that? What happened? And I think as an empath, I think there's a coping mechanism that comes in and like pulls the curtain on that, so you don't keep thinking about it. Or I don't know if that's my spirit guides, it always did, I don't know, but probably all to do with this inner child stuff. And Natalie is, obviously she works with the inner child healing. So I don't know if there's a last word you want to have about that, Natalie, about this healing the inner child.
Just don't be scared of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's painful because we do block things out because we don't want to go there, but life never gets better until you deal with that. You don't have to live there, you know. Past is a place of reference, not residence, isn't it? You know.
Ooh, like it.
Yeah, the only way to move forward is to go there, is to heal stuff. You can do one thing at a time, and then it gets easier. It gets so much easier. I had a friend of mine that I helped. She had a really bad experience with growing up with her mum, and the first call that we had, she was like, I'm never going to be able to forgive my mum. And within 3 sessions she'd written a letter to her mum forgiving her, and she's dealt with that part of her life now, and she's changed so much as a result of that. But sometimes it's whatever the thing is that is the hardest for you is the thing that you have to do. Amazing. And that's it. But please never ever, you do not have to give your power away to anyone. And every time we get angry, or every time, and if you want another top tip as well, especially with like helping your immune system, 5 minutes of anger suppresses your immune system for up to 5 hours. So get happy, because if you want to keep yourself healthy, you don't want to be angry. Because if 5 minutes of that can do that, imagine spending a lifetime like I have being angry. Like, no wonder I've had to like rebuild my whole life around it.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, Jenni, for joining us. Appreciate all your wisdom and your guidance. And Natalie, thank you so much again for the same. And it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you both. I hope you guys out there have enjoyed listening to us having our coffee and chat. Cheers. And I just want to say thank you to Jenni and thank you to Natalie. And we're going to call it a day there. So yeah, just go forward, be happy, don't be angry, and somehow continue in love and light if at all possible. We will see you soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye now.